All right. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us on another meeting for Unite for CRT. It looks like we have a couple of new faces and a couple of returning faces. So it's always good to see the mixture out there. So thank you all for joining us. For some of the new people, we really appreciate you coming to check us out. We're a pretty laid back but fun group. We're really just trying to make this an easy conversational group where we just learn what it's about, kind of to live with a disability. This whole group started about almost 2 years ago, a small group of us that advocates in Washington, D.C. once a year, advocating for complex rehab technology. We wanted to all get together and just try to, keep each other motivated when we're not on the hill. And, how can we be doing this when we're, not all together? And what are the things that we're doing in our home states? And that's kind of how Unite for CRT started, but then it's evolved into so much more. Now we've really just, our meetings have gone above and beyond CRT. CRT is still very, very important components to a lot of our everyday lives, but now we've really just started to get into more conversational type of topics. We've had meetings about managing your caregiver team. And last month we had a really great meeting where we discussed disability terms and language and what these terms, what they mean to us and what terms we're comfortable with and what terms we're not comfortable with. But it's just been a very educational group. And one thing that's been great about it as well is, it's not just for people that have disabilities, for your families, it's for your caregivers, it's for everybody that, could have a touch of someone with a disability in their life, and even not, it's just a great place to come together and get educated. So we're so excited you guys are here tonight. And we have a great guest with us. His name is Collin, and I'm going to be speaking with him here in a moment or two. But I wanted to, we're going to be talking about adaptive sports with Chris. It's Let's Go Adaptive Sports. That's going to be our topic of tonight. But before we dive into the discussion, I want to show you guys a quick video of Chris, because let's just say he is legit on the slopes. So I'm going to do this little screen share thing. So you give me a minute and let me pull the clip first. Sorry, I'm still new to some of this screen sharing. Let's see. I'm not sure what. Oh. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on here. I think it's my internet connection.
Might
that
be.
Is not good. I am.
You want me to pull it up real quick?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Annette, that would be
okay.
Great.
Sure, I don't mind. I will do that.
Thank you. I'm sorry, guys.
No problem. Here we go. That kind of scheme.
You missed the ball of playing the music, playing some music in the background of that video.
So wanted to give that just a quick clip for you guys, just to see, one of the sports that Chris is involved with, and he plays many other sports and is involved with other sports. We'll get into that more with our conversation with him. But as I was getting ready for the interview tonight, my nephew is actually here at my house with me, and he was watching the video, and he knows ice skating. And he was just saying, "Oh my God, is that guy in a wheelchair?" And I said, yeah. He's like, dang. He was so impressed. He thought that you were legit, Chris. So, and you are. So good job, my friend. But guys, Chris Collin is going to join with me here. I'm going to just ask him a couple questions and we're going to get to know a little bit more about Chris and about his background. And once we get through a couple of questions, we want to open it up to the group as well. We want to do a Q&A session. You guys can talk to Chris about, his experiences, the sports that he plays, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what we want to, that's kind of how we want this night to flow. So I'm going to get the conversation going with Chris, but anytime you guys think of a question, you can either put it in the chat or we can, just remember it, and we will definitely make sure we have plenty of times for question and answers with Chris. So we're just going to get going a little bit, and then we can open up to the group. So Chris, first of all, you haven't always lived your life in a wheelchair. So would you mind sharing with the group, how you did become into a wheelchair?
Yeah. So my accident, I became in a wheelchair from an accident. My accident happened in 2008. And I was on a motorcycle. I was going way too fast for the roads. I was going about 100 miles an hour on a back road. And I came around a corner and there was a car that was backing out of the driveway. So I avoided the car and hit a tree. So that left me paralyzed from the chest down. So T5 is right around the chest area. From there down, I have no sensation, no movement. It was a freak thing that happened. Stupidity kind of involved. Young and dumb. I was 22, so it is what it is. And basically overcame that through a bunch of good people around me, really. And then keeping myself positive as much as I could through a bunch of different means, and sports was one of those. I ended up I spent 4 months in the hospital, 2 months up here, and then I went down to Shepherd in Georgia, which is an amazing facility. I stayed down there for 2 months and did most of my rehabilitation up down there. They actually have quite the arsenal of adaptive sport equipment. And that was part of the reason why I started getting into sports so quickly after my injury. Between that and then the people when I came back that actually encouraged me to get out and do more stuff and be active and then get healthy and get stronger. With all of those kind of things in a whirlwind, it just set up for the perfect storm. I can't remember how many things I tried down at Shepherd, but I mean, they had an ATV that I went out on in a side-by-side. So we did that around the parking lot. We did a bunch of stuff indoors, tried all kinds of different sports there. So that was a really good facility. I know that most people are probably not in the hospital that are on this call or anything like that, but there's all kinds of different sport organizations around that actually do either free or small amount of money just to join the organization, and then you can do all kinds of different sports with it. I've actually got a whole list that I'm gonna paste. I don't know, do you want me to paste it in the chat, or do you want to just, I can do that.
Yeah, why don't you do that if you don't mind? Because I know Chris has a nice list of resources that he wanted to share with the group, and then he also said that's something that he wouldn't mind putting out like in an email to the group as well. That way people could actually, have a better copy of those resources, but he can at least put it in the chat as of now. If you guys kind of want to start skimming those over, but he'll also get it in email form. So
it won't let me paste it.
The rest of the group.
It won't let me paste it.
Oh, well, we can just do an email then, Chris. It's totally
It might be too much.
it might be too much info because I know you had quite the list. So
yeah, but we'll get that info to you anyway. And I'll kind of go through the info as we go along too, but there's a bunch of good resources in there, a bunch of organizations. There's some websites that I have that list out state by state, so that way you can actually go to your state and see what's around for organizations and different activities that you can do.
That's awesome. And I know you were saying, Chris, sports weren't a big part of your life before your injury. You weren't really into sports all that much. What did sports do for you after your injury? Why were you so, why did they touch you so much, and why do you like to still stay involved with sports to this day?
Yeah. I think I played football maybe a couple times in middle school, and that was it. That was the most I did for sports. So I wasn't really a sport kind of person growing up. And then when I was in high school, I just worked all the way through high school. So I never actually got into any sports during high school either. So that kind of left me kind of looking at sports after my injury, like, why would I get into that? And I really don't like to work out. So, so it was one of those things that once I got injured, I just started thinking about getting healthier and getting stronger. And that was kind of what led me into having a little bit more fun with an activity while being able to still get stronger. So that's what kind of led me in. And then once I actually got into a few different programs and got into a few different sports, the community that was there, like all the other people that were volunteers or just people that you meet, other people with disabilities, that just became a huge thing in my life. And it was just, you have a lot more fun with people that have similar injuries than you. You guys can talk a lot about what's going on and make fun of things. I mean, you wouldn't want to hear the jokes that we have together. It gets out of control, but it's really fun. So that was the other part of it. It wasn't just getting healthy and being stronger. It became a community aspect. So now I enjoy doing all sports with a big group of people, mostly if I can get people that have other disabilities to come on a bike ride with me. I do some bike rides with a woman that has a brain injury, a guy that has an amputated leg. We bike all the time during the summer. So there's all kinds of different things that kind of build off of just that sport mentality. And then you get into that community. But it started off as me getting into the skiing, seeing what was able to be done on the slopes from my instructor. I couldn't do that right off the bat. And I was like, if I can do that, then I'm in. So I saw him doing the amazing turns, kind of like what you just saw on my video. He was doing that. And I was like, I'm hooked. I want to do that. And then it got me into doing cycling. And cycling was something during the summer to keep me more active and stronger for the winter. So it was kind of like an ebb and flow kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then all the other sports kind of came in to the same kind of aspect of things, just because I don't like to say no to things. So if somebody asks me if I want to try something, I'll be like, yeah, let's try it.
And talk about some of those other sports. I know obviously skiing's big for you, cycling's big for you, but I know you've done, quite a bit of other stuff. Kind of share with the group the other sports that you have been involved with, and how involved with it you get.
Yeah. So I started, like I said, as a student in Maine adaptive sports, and I did cycling and skiing there, and then I became a volunteer and help with that also. I've done hunting, fishing. I still ride a motorcycle, snowmobile, rugby. I know that I'm a thoracic injury, which I technically can't play rugby, but I practice with the guys because it's so much fun. You get to hit other people in wheelchairs. It's just what gets better than that. So kayaking, tennis, basketball, lacrosse. And I did try WCMX, which is basically like BMX with a wheelchair. And I could tell you one thing, that scared the crap out of me. And I'm usually pretty fearless on a lot of stuff. I think part of it was I was actually just in a regular everyday wheelchair, and they make actual wheelchairs that are specially designed for that, and they're a little bit more stable. But
Sure.
yeah, it was quite the adventure.
Heck yeah. Well, and talk about some of the personal equipment you have, because I know you have quite a bit that allows you to, stay active in these sports. So talk about the equipment that you have and that you utilize.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with equipment is it's so expensive for people to get into that most people don't get into it for that reason. And that's one reason why going to a program and actually seeing and trying out different equipment through them is a good idea at first. And then once you get into it deep enough that you feel like you want to get into your own equipment, then there's grants out there and other things that I have that whole list of resources for people. That's also on part of the list. But I've actually gotten a hand cycle through Kelly Brush and CAF grants, and I use that a lot. I've done their ride almost every year since I've got the hand cycle. I started off with a 50 mile, and I ended up doing, I think 3 years ago, I did a 100 mile. That was a lot. I don't know. I'll probably do it again, but I said for about like 2 months after that, I would never do it again. And then for skiing, I use the KBG, which is Kevin Bramble Goods, and I run his original. He has a bunch of different designs. There's a whole array of different equipment that you could use for skiing that I could recommend. A bunch of that's on that information too. So those are the two that I have right now, and then I have a hand cycle that's off-road with full suspension that I just ordered. So I can't wait to get that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've been getting into a lot of mountain biking recently, so it's going to be awesome.
And I know it's going to be kind of hard to get into that list of resources because it's quite a thorough list that you have, but just maybe touch on a couple of the key points, whether it's grants, whether it's, different organizations. Where would be a good place for people to kind of at least start if they just want to get familiar with, hey, I think I'm interested in trying something, or I want to get my feet wet. Well, what could people do?
Yeah, I would say that probably the number one, easiest one to do would be United Spinal has a whole list of organizations right on their website. And that'd be a good way to start, kind of find out what's in your area, and then move on from there and see what's open. I know that COVID kind of is putting a wrench into things, so it's not the easiest not every organization's open right now. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about that, and it's just tough. But things are starting to open back up. So kind of getting your understanding of what's out there right now would be a good idea. I know that for grants, the Kelly Brush Foundation, Challenge Athletes Foundation, and High Fives, those are all really big ones. And I just learned about another one called SCORE. And that one I didn't know about, but I just found out about it today, actually. So I added that to my list.
Awesome. And again, guys, we'll definitely get this list out to you. We'll get it sent out to the group in an email form. That way people can actually, see it and really go through it thoroughly based on, on your needs. But, one thing, and you can talk about this a little bit too, Chris, is, people with different levels of injuries, different levels of disabilities can, participate in sports. I mean, I know you are a lower injury. I'm a little bit of a higher injury with being a quadriplegic. I ski, I do a bunch of different stuff. But I mean, that's something that, people can really try to explore, kind of, I don't want to say no matter what their injury level is, but there are definitely options out there for people.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of options. I mean, it basically comes down to the equipment and then the way that you're adapting your body and adapting yourself to the situation. I mean, anybody could do anything that they want as long as they have the right equipment and the right mentality. I think that's one of the biggest things too. So.
No, that's true. Because when I ski, like how Chris was using handheld outriggers, I don't have the upper body strength to do that myself. So I actually have volunteers that help tether me down the mountain. So they help control my speed. They help control my turns. They help control everything. And I have fixed outriggers on my ski. Because again, I just don't have the upper body to do it. But I can still, just by the way I shift my weight and by the way I turn my body, I can assist with the turns and I can assist with getting myself down the mountain. So even though I can't physically, do it the same way Chris does it, there's still ways for me to do it. I need the assistance getting on and off the ski lifts because again, I just don't have the upper body strength to do that. But again, that doesn't mean that those options aren't out there. I ski through the National Sports Center for the Disabled out here in Colorado, and it's a great organization. It's a great resource. for people, that are out here. But just want to put that out there that, it can be done, with a lot of different, adaptions, and there's a lot of different ways to do things. So kind of, just have an open mind and see what's out there if it's something that you're interested in. And I see we got a couple of questions. I just want you to share one story with them, Chris, about one day when you were skiing and things didn't kind of quite go the way you thought they would.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to scare anybody as far as getting into sports, but things do happen. But one day it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I was going to get on the chairlift and I never made it on completely. And I figured it was just like me hitting the snow with my ski, and I'm like, oh, I'm good. And then I went to go pull myself backwards onto the chair, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not good. By that time, I was about 10 feet up off the ground. And I was like, uh-oh. And I ended up looking back and trying to get the attention of the lifty. That was long gone. He was facing the other way. It was an early season day, so nobody was really out. And I was by myself. So I decided I was going to just hang on and try to make it all the way to the top. About halfway, I realized that there was no way I was going to make it all the way. So I eventually slipped off, and then I fell, and then broke my neck. So from there, I went to the hospital. I found out I broke my neck. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I was so mad that year because it was a really good snow year. And I was like, I can't ski. And I was getting so mad. And then I was like, all right, I'm just setting my focus. And I set my focus again, kind of like with my original injury, and just said, I'm not letting this beat me. And I went out and skied the last day of the year and conquered it. So that's my story.
And when I was talking with Chris, he and we spoke before, the meeting today, and, he was asking me, like, is this a story that I should share? Like, because I don't want to scare people from actually going out there doing things, but it was his, it was his will to get back at it again that I thought was such a big thing. And also it shows how much sports have now kind of changed Chris's life and how it's such a big part of his life, and that he just wasn't ready to give that up. So yes, accidents can happen, as we all do know, but I think I think it was still good for Chris to share. It's something he wanted to share too. So because he was able to still get back out there and still, participate in the sports that he, loves to do. So it's one of those moments where, you're like, oh God, but he persevered and he got through it. And I think it's worth, we thought it was worth him sharing that moment. So even though it was kind of scary, I'm glad you shared it with everybody, Chris, because it does show the determination. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, just don't let things keep you down. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly.
You want to do something, just do it. And even if you have a little bit of fear to do it, slowly get into it and overcome it. That it's probably the best feeling you can ever get when you overcome something that you fear.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. Well, I know we have some people that I think want to ask some questions. So let's open it up. Let's, if you guys have questions, stories, anything you want to share with us, let's open it up. Let's talk with Chris, and anything you guys want to ask, just speak up and let's get the conversation going.
Chris, can I ask a question? It's Christy.
Sure thing.
Do you have a picture of you doing your BMX like wheelchair stuff? That's pretty cool. I'm like totally in awe.
Yes and no. So like the one I have some video that I could probably share.
You totally need
but
to share
that. When you said picture, all I came into my head was this one picture of me coming off this ramp, and every time I hit the ramp, the wheelchair was like really short because it's just an everyday wheelchair. The front end would just kick up and it would like try to throw me over backwards. So they get a picture of me from the front, and they're just taking pictures of everybody who's going over the jump, and my face is like this.
Please show that to us all. We would love that.
It's the worst picture ever.
That is fantastic. I'm totally
But I will
awe.
share that.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing all of your stuff. I'm really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I wanted to say, first of all, I'm able-bodied and I haven't done a quarter of the stuff that you have. So that goes to show you want to do something, you can do whatever the heck you want. But I worked for Top End for about 10 years. And so, I would agree with the list that you're going to send out. I think that's a great way to kind of kick the ball and get everything started with trying to find places. But the one piece that I would add is don't be discouraged, because each program or each organization has kind of a different process, procedure, contacts, and everything else. Sorry, my dog is trying to say hello. And the other opportunity is to reach out to some of the rehab facilities in your current locality. So, we're here in Colorado. We have Craig Hospital is a great resource to just ask. And the Shepherd Center is obviously a great place if you're in the Midwest, if you're in Nebraska, the Madonna Rehab. So don't be afraid to reach out to those folks and ask them who some of those, they may have contacts of actual people to ask for rather than just a web address or a website or something like that. So if you want to find something, that's a great way to kind of dig in and find it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's awesome info. That's perfect.
Absolutely. And, the financial things are always a concern too, because as Chris was alluding to, it does get pretty expensive for sure. Just like with any sports though, too, any sports can be expensive, but even like in my younger years when I was in college, I was able to be a sponsored athlete through the National Sports Center for Disabled. So there's so many ways that you could still find ways to try to do it, even if the finances aren't quite there for you. So that's just another thing that I want to put out there, that there are options. And how Chris was talking about grants and things like that. I mean, just do your research, because there are different ways to still try to get involved, whether it's lack of equipment, lack of finances, lack of, whatever it may be. There's a lot of options out there still for you guys.
And Jenny, if I could elaborate on that, and maybe even maybe later we could have an offline discussion about it. Several manufacturers have gotten to a point where they're trying to find ways to have kind of introductory level type of equipment where it's not the carbon bike or the Force RX that's fully loaded that comes in at $8,000 or $9,000. They're starting to get some more intro level kind of program sort of bikes and program sort of equipment. So it's always worth trying to find those. But more importantly, I get a lot of questions and people reach out to me on a regular basis. Hey, you know what? I don't use my bike anymore. I want to sell it. And I find that the resale market for this type of equipment is non-existent. And I wonder if there were a way that, maybe we talk in between United CRT, we find a way to like kind of have a classified section that could be a little bit more nationally organized, because a lot of people are just, conditions change, life changes. They have kids, they don't want to compete anymore. So Patty Cisneros is somebody that I know. She used to be an avid basketball player, and she's like in a grandma bike now because she just wants to ride around with her kids, right? And so what does she do with her other equipment that she wants to get rid of? And usually it just ends up collecting dust in the garage. But if there's a way that we could help facilitate somebody selling those through a classified section, I think that's an area that this industry could really use. And there's not really a good way to do it today.
I 100%, and we could definitely, get into that a little bit more, like you said, offline, but I think that'd be a great resource for people. Again, that's kind of what we try to do with Unite for CRT, is think of different resources and different ways for, people to, whether it's get involved or have easier access to things. So that would be a great first start right there. So yeah, let's chat some more. I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah. And just to add a couple of things there is a group on Facebook called Disability Trading Zone that I'm part of, and that's exactly what it's for. I mean, you can sell your equipment on there. Everything doesn't have to be just sport equipment. It could be any kind of equipment. And then bikeon.com has a classified section that you can actually sell your used equipment through them too. So there are a couple places, but there's not like a mainstream. It would be nice to have like a mainstream kind of like a Craigslist for disability equipment.
Absolutely. Where especially we could get more options in one area. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say quickly on a side note, hey guys, I'm in the Midwest, but I've been working with a couple organizations trying to get more accessible options for community access and for some really cool hand cycles and off-road stuff. And and all that. And the manufacturers are saying, listen, if people want to know about us, we'll be able to say, you know, here are your options if you want to try X, Y, and Z, you know. So you can also reach out to the manufacturers and see if they know where there are places that their bikes are being used for community use or rental or trial. That's something that I had never thought about doing before, but a really cool concept and something that they've used to let people trial something, because you don't want to spend that kind of money if you don't know, or at least you haven't seen, maybe, possibly. So just a thought, but that struck me as something different and a different approach that I thought would be useful.
And I'll tell you, as a manufacturer's rep, we love it, to have those conversations and to try to direct you into what it is that would be most beneficial for your lifestyle and what you want to accomplish and your goals. So that's a great point.
Thanks, JB.
Chris, why don't you have one of my wheelchairs yet, brother?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Maz, do you know about these wheelchairs I make?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw your wheelchairs on Facebook before you did your last meeting on here. I've got what do they call that? Oh shoot, I forgot what it's called now. Renegade wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I use that a little bit to hunt. But I think most of my hunting needs is going to actually come from the mountain bike that I'm going to get. So I think I'm going to do a lot of hunting off of that. I'll be able to get into a lot of places with that too.
Yeah, no doubt. I salute you in your endeavors and thank you for sharing with us. I know you bring a lot of hope and inspiration to our community, and I have a lot of respect for that. And thank you for what you do for everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any other questions or stories they want to share about different sports that, you guys are involved with? Or I see maybe Lisa might have something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to share, first of all, I just want to congratulate Chris for being such a good advocate for people who have had spinal cord injuries, because I actually come from the opposite end of the spectrum, where I've been a practicing physical therapist in the rehab field for over 35 years. And I'm actually on a prolonged work comp case right now because I had a rotator cuff tear and some other things happened. So I've popped in on a few of these conversations. But I think the first thing when I heard Chris's story is it kind of just made me think of being a little kid in the Midwest where I grew up, where, we ran around, we rode bikes. I'm 58 years old, so we rode bikes. I chased my older brothers, I played horse, I went skiing, I did all those things. And when I heard Chris's story of after the injury, at first I was like, wow, this guy sounds like a daredevil. He got injured on a motorcycle, yada, yada. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, he's just like any other athlete that really, really wants to keep his athleticism going. And I think because I work more on the acute rehab side, and I worked in an outpatient setting as my last job, where I'm technically still employed, we kind of feel like we're being driven to see you folks until you complete that acute rehab, but really many times integrating you back into a normal life is not quite part of the program. And so it's so good to have people like Chris out there advocating to keep this rolling. Because yes, if people go to a big center like Craig, or they go to Shepherd in Atlanta or something like that, things are going to happen and they're going to be exposed to more. But I think so many out there, their injury happens and then it's like, where do I go next? And I don't have a good mentor for sports or getting into work or doing whatever. It's just hard to keep moving along. So I think, for those people who are listening, who are either have been, unfortunately, had some sort of spinal injury or work with people who have some sort of physical limitation, this is just, we all got to work together and keep this going. So it's just good to see you share your story. So And that's really all I had to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm kind of popping in and out because I got some other stuff going off the background, so that's why my face has been going away.
It's all right. Yeah, I think one big thing too is getting a hold of like the hospitals or anywhere you can find support groups. I've been part of a couple of support groups and stuff like that throughout the years, and that's a good avenue to get information to keep kind of things flowing. So that's definitely a big thing that most people would kind of aspire for. Because I've always heard that people are looking for a resource for somebody to talk to or somebody to understand where they need to go for their next thing. I mean, they're at like a
Exactly.
wall. They hit a wall and they're like, well, now what?
Exactly.
So having that conversation, if it's in person like that, there's a bunch of Facebook groups too. I'll put a list of those in the email too, that I'm a part of, and those are great community resources. A lot of people to talk to and bounce stuff off of, and a lot of opinions and stuff like that that you get from a bunch of different people. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing.
yeah, no, thank you.
I've been putting a lot in the chat, but the main thing that I had an interview today with Ed Price, and he has a website. Forget the name of it. I put it on the chat, but the main thing that he told me that really sparked my interest. I don't have that much of a disability, but I'm an occupational therapist, and I've infused L1 to S1, and I use sticks when I go hiking, and I thought I could ski, and I thought I could be an instructor. Well, I found out that my balance is pretty far off, and I'm not anywhere near being an instructor. So anyways, I ended up using Dream Adaptive this year, and I found out a lot about sliders, which are the outriggers or whatever, but it's a walker that you hold on to, and then they have skis on the bottom of it. They go around your skis, and then they tether you on both sides and the back. But what I was very impressed with Ed Price was that he was working with somebody named Quinn, and she's the coordinator for the Access Barrier Act in Estes Park in Colorado. And she states that there's a law, and I put it in the chat, and then it for all national parks, that if you have whatever equipment you have, and you have a disability, either motorized or manual, you can use on the trail. Otherwise, they would be discriminating against you on any trail you can use. There's a law that says that, adaptive equipment for people with disabilities is allowed, so I didn't know that until I talked with him today.
Now, does that include, like, if I wanted to use my mountain bike instead of my wheelchair, I can use that mountain bike because that's my adaptive equipment?
Yes.
Okay. That's good to know. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I got the up here in the chat. Let's see here, because you can look up the law yourself. Code 36 CFR 212.1. Any disabled hiker can use any adaptive equipment to go on any trail, motorized or manual.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another good thing to know about national parks is if you're disabled, you get a free national park pass.
Oh, yeah.
And that works awesome. And actually, I just found out this year that you can use it at Cannon Mountain to get half off day pass for skiing. So it has perks.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Definitely. In Colorado, you can apply if you have a permanent disability and you can prove documentation. You can get something similar for state parks where you can just pay $10 and it's just like a once $10 fee, and then you could get a pass and go to all the Colorado state parks as well. So I don't know if that's like that, obviously in different states, but they call it a silver pass, and that's an option out here in Colorado too, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I wonder how many other states are actually like that.
Exactly, because
Think of that.
I was paralyzed when I was 9 months old. So like the card that I have was literally in my mom's wallet for the first however many years of life. And then she gave it to me. And then I showed it to a ranger at one of the state parks we went to. And he was like, I've never even seen this before. I don't even know what this is. Like he wasn't even aware of what it was. And then he looked into it. He was like, yeah, this is a thing. So it's sometimes when you ask, a lot of people just don't know about it. So definitely it is a lot of research sometimes, but it is kind of interesting what you find out, you know?
Yeah. So you didn't just make it up?
It wasn't fake. It was legit. I swear.
And has anybody used the Wheel CI? WHILLCI? It's a longer wheelbase, so it's hard to get in and out in your house, but it protects you from falling a lot more, you know. And then I guess falling forward is the worst thing that could happen to you. Falling backwards, the next worst thing that could happen to you. And falling sideways is not so bad. So, but they're doing these Access Barrier Act. They're doing trail signs. They have these cross slopes. So that's like the slope that's going sideways. And then they also have the incline. And they also have how many miles it is and how much of a grade it is. And I do have a survey, if anybody is interested, that Gabby Markley is putting out. She's getting her doctorate in occupational therapy, and she's doing a survey that she's looking for people that are interested, that are actually have, you know, are using wheelchairs, and have mobility impairments, so that, you know, she can get a better idea of what needs to be on these signs, these accessibility signs. So
Very cool.
I might be able to put the link in. I don't know, let's see.
Jenny, I sent you a message in the chat, but maybe if you could share the chat log via email for those of us that don't have access to save it right now, that would be great for us to review later.
No problem. Yep, I responded to you. I'll ask Annette for it because she set up the Zoom meeting, so she'll have access to that chat log. But I will definitely ask if we can send that out too, because there is a lot of great information going in the chat right now. So that'd be great to share for sure. So,
Yeah, we'll definitely share the chat log. So if you have any important resource that you want to share, it would be really good if you put it in there. That way we'll have a record of it. We'll remember what we need to send out to everybody. We'll have a list when the meeting's over for everybody that attended. And we'll also post these links on our website, on the NARTS website. So I'll send a link out to that. It's NARTS, and you can go to the Unite for CRT page.
absolutely. And I know, Annette, I don't know if you want to share it now real quick, but I know we had some people send in some pictures also, kind of like what we saw of Chris on the flyer that we sent out. I know some people that they also submitted some pictures, and I know Annette put together a quick slideshow. I don't know if you want to play that so that people can see some of those pictures too, Annette.
Sure. Let me move my people out of the way. There you go.
And we can keep having the conversation going, guys, if people still have questions going, because usually, not that we have to stop meeting right at 6, but usually we keep these meetings to roughly an hour or so, but we can definitely still keep the conversation rolling. I just thought it just might be cool to see all these
Oh my
pictures that
gosh.
people submitted. It's just kind of cool to see. Molly with the karate, that's awesome.
I love those pictures, Molly.
I love the bicycle one where there was, I'm not sure who was on the bike there in that picture. Maybe it was Chris, but I love the bicycle one. That one looks great.
His wheels fell off.
There's Cody's cute mask.
I know.
Speaking of the wheels coming off, it suddenly reminded me of one time when I was training a young new wheelchair user how to do a wheelie. And he was popping wheelies with a plastic mat underneath him so he wouldn't get hurt in the middle of the gym. And like the second wheelie he popped, he just really popped it. And he ended up tipping in the chair, but he was just a para, so he was fine. But I'll never forget that look on his face when the back of his chair and, his body started hitting the ground. He was just like, what happened? He was definitely a new learner.
That's where our family likes to go snow tubing. We're actually going there on Thursday. We're going to go up to Frisco, right outside of Breckenridge, go to the Frisco Adventure Park.
Sounds fun.
Awesome.
It's a lot of fun, and they have a magic carpet, so it's really easy for me to get up and down the mountain without it being too much of work. So it was pretty cool.
Ben, you don't have any of your fishing kayaking video handy, do you?
Oh yeah, can I share my screen?
Yeah,
Sure.
come on.
Yeah, he has some pretty, if you're not a friend of Ben's on Facebook, you need to get on there because he has some very cool things that he posts.
Let's see.
Outdoor fun. It should let you share.
Oh yeah, here we go. All right.
There we go.
Well, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
This is me getting out of the kayak. Well, this is not super entertaining, but you see those big front tires on I build these things for $500. So I think everybody knows about it, but there's nothing to it. I think I've built about 14 of them in the last 2 weeks so far. It's been crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I put in a Shark Tank application last Monday.
Oh,
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
that's so cool.
Oh my goodness.
I hope you get on there. We'll all be watching.
Yeah, we
I-
will.
I told them y'all have 100% of the business. Just help me get these things to people. As I'm not in it for the money.
Yeah.
So we'll see. There's supposedly 40,000 people that apply for each season, and they'll at least let me know. Y'all see this one?
There you go.
This is the lake near the house. It's beautiful out there.
It is pretty.
It just freaking mows over all that mud like it's nothing.
That's so
I
cool.
wish I had a video. There's a clay pit right on the point out there that I've got stuck in a few times and had to transfer out of the chair into the water, unstick the chair and get back in it. And it's been crazy a few times. I'll do that for y'all soon though, just show you.
You gonna go out there and get stuck on purpose? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, for sure. I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Isn't that beautiful though?
That's so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, the wheelchairs made in the States and Europe and even Japan aren't as rugged as like third world wheelchairs, because they
Some of
just
the third world wheelchairs have been created by Whirlwind. By
yeah, whirlwind.
Ralph Hotchkiss and yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a good dude.
You got to talk to him, Ben?
Rafe Hotchkiss, yeah.
Yeah, Ralph.
Ralph? That was Rafe.
R-A-L-F.
I thought it was R-A-I-F.
Nope, it's R-A-L-F, Ralph.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben, what part of the country do you live in?
Southwest Georgia, Cairo.
Oh, okay, because you sound kind of southern. I have a niece in Georgia. She lives near Savannah.
Yes, ma'am.
You do some
Beautiful.
awesome work there with those things to get in and out of the kayak.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I attribute it all to the great therapist I had at the spinal center, like Chris was talking about, Shepherd.
Uh-huh.
They drilled in me from the get-go. This is what you want to make it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I mean, because it's like nobody wants to have an injury like this, but it's like, okay, you got these cards, so now you got to figure out how you're going to deal with them. So it seems like you and Chris have done a great job.
Can I
And
share?
Mary too.
Can I share my screen?
Sure.
yeah.
Let's see here. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. This is the Paralympic surfer. She has CP, and that's how they surf. That's her in the black right there.
We're not seeing it yet,
We're not
Mary.
seeing it.
Oh,
We see your face.
sorry.
That's about it.
you see,
Did I see where the Paralympics are going? They're going to be televised prime
Yeah, I saw
time
that.
this year.
Oh, really?
According to
That's so
CBS, they are.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, that should be exciting.
So I was in Phoenix last week, and I had an opportunity at one of the facilities down there to try. Oh goodness, what was it called? The terrain hopper. And the clinician there asked me to hop in it, and he gave me the tour that he usually puts his patients in. And after Mary shows her screen, I'd like to show a video of what this thing was capable of.
Okay.
We think a lot about sports in the manual world, but this was a power chair that did some pretty amazing stuff.
Awesome.
do you see it or no?
I
Yeah.
can see your
We
face.
do
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
See a photo.
Okay, so she's in the black, and she's on her belly.
Uh-huh.
That's how they surf.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. She has a lot of leg strength. She bikes on a stationary bike 27 miles a day.
Jeez,
Wow.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
What was her limitation again? Her physical limitation?
CP.
Cerebral palsy.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
So I just want to share this, guys, with you. This is the opposite end of some of the manual capabilities, but let's see if I can find this video.
And while he's looking, Chris, there was a question that popped up in the chat from Robert. He was asking if you minded if he asked you how you were able to get into Shepherd's.
How I was able to get in.
Yeah, that's what the in the
that's-
chat.
It's kind of like a question I don't know the exact answer to, because I was kind of like, I was in a drug-induced coma for 3 weeks, and then they brought me out of that, and I wasn't even really there. So my parents kind of took over that whole thing. So I don't know exactly how that all happened. I do know that the state helped facilitate that, and they actually had somebody come up and give me the the virtual tour of the facility, and I chose them to go down there. But